a recruiter passionate about helping people do what they love. Through her dynamic career branding process, she helps job seekers and small business owners discover their career passions and showcase their professional superpowers through compelling LinkedIn profiles, standout resumes and websites, pinpoint networking, and memorable interviews. In her volunteer life, she co-founded a community service program, boomerworks.org, helping 50 plus professionals re-career into self-employment. She also offers a free job support group called Hire Moment Mastermind that meets every other Friday from 9:15 to 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Her passion is best captured in her tagline, "For every hire, there is a higher purpose." Contact information is Purposeful Hire, Shira at purposefulhire.com, and her phone number and contact information will be provided in the chat as well. So I thank you, Shira, for being with us today. And if you have questions for Shira in her presentation, please put them in chat, put them in for everyone and say, this question is for Shira, so we don't get questions confused with New Ann and Fairfax County, but just present them to everyone so that I can see them. And then Shira will answer them at the conclusion of her presentation. Take it away, Shira.
Thanks, Jody. Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to talk about career pivoting. I think it's a topic probably on most of your hearts and minds, probably for different reasons. It could be that you're at a stage in career where you're like, I've been there, done that, want to do something different. It could be that you've been having a little bit tough time in the market, thinking that you should do a pivot. You might be one of our fellow federally disrupted folks who feels that they need to do a career pivot. Whatever the reason is, we're going to kind of lean into this topic today. I'm going to give you a lot of practical advice from my lens as both a recruiter and a career coach. Been doing this a long time, and hopefully you're going to find this pretty good and enjoyable. So here's the first thing that I want to talk about is the truth about getting hired. So before we even get into the rebranding, let's kind of go over a few stats. And the first is that 70 to 85% of jobs are never posted publicly. I want you to let that sink in. It's what we call the hidden job market. Most of the jobs are not on the job board. Now, all of us, I think, are of a certain age where when we first started working, all we knew to do was, you apply, fax your resume, send in a Licken envelope all 30 years ago, right? That's what we all did. And now once everything went online, job boards got flooded. And so a lot of employers have been, and for all kinds of reasons, have been using their private network. And likewise, there's only a 2% success rate for online applications, 2 to 3%. It's a very, very low number. There's a reason why when you send your resume into a job board, whether that's LinkedIn's job board, Career Builder, whatever, you're not getting seen. There's a huge onslaught, not just in terms of people, but there are a lot of AI, fake resumes that are being sent there. A lot of people are applying for jobs that they're not qualified for. It's just overwhelming. It's very normal for an employer to get hundreds of resumes in the first 24 hours. So there's an art and a science to it, but mostly what you need to think about is referrals. Okay. And we're going to be talking about networking here in a second. And then we're going to go into how to kind of connect all of that with your rebrand. So there's a resume myth, right? My resume is going to get me in the door. I just need to apply to more jobs. The ATS is rejecting me. I need a better resume template, all of those things. But the reality is it's relationships that get you in the door. It's your story that makes your rep memorable. People hire people they know, like, and trust. And employers are much more receptive to career pivoters when they know you. When your reputation shows up before your resume, that is often how employers will actually consider you as what we call a creative hire. That's something we're going to be talking about in different ways today, but this is one of the main points that I can share with you. Career pivoting is challenging enough because employers are very risk averse, but it is easier when you have somebody championing your candidacy. When someone says, hey, I know Webster, right? Webster, you're in my line of sight here. That's why I'm calling on you. I know Webster. I think he's fabulous. I worked with him before. Great guy, all the things. Hey, employer, let me let you know a little bit about his backstory. He has a non-traditional resume. I know it's not exactly all the little unicorn things that you were looking for, but let me tell you, this guy is worth the interview. Would you just meet him? Right? Webster gives me a thumbs up. Yes, that's what we're looking for. Okay. And it is absolutely about relationships. You're going to see this all a theme all the way through this presentation today, but I want you to hold on to that. That is the easiest way to do a pivot when somebody already knows you and they can actually minimize the risk reputationally for that employer. So today we're going to go over several things. We're going to talk about why networking beats resumes, a concept that I call the ing versus framework. That'll make sense in a second when we talk about it. Some intentional networking strategies. Notice the word intentional, not just networking, not just mass networking, intentional networking. We'll talk a little bit about crafting your pivot story and then some action plans and next steps. All right. So why networking beats resumes? The hidden job market, as I just alluded to, 80% of jobs are filled through networking before the job is ever public posted, even if it ever is posted publicly. It's filled by people employers already know and trust. A lot of these executives and hiring managers are going out to their communities, getting on listservs, making calls, sending texts to their buddies. Hey, who do you know that would be interested in filling this role? By the way, a little hidden tip for you. Write this one down, everybody. On LinkedIn, a lot of employers right now, a lot of colleagues of employers are using their own LinkedIn thread to post jobs. Now, I'm not talking about the job board per se. I'm saying that Susie Cream Cheese, some colleague, okay, she's just a regular person at Acme Company. She sometimes will go onto her own LinkedIn thread and say, hey, colleagues, my company is looking for a director of communications. Know anyone? And she'll post that to her thread. I see these things all the time just because of what I do for a living. That's just the algorithm that I get. I see a lot of these things and I constantly repost. You can do the same thing. And this is part of the hidden market. You can go to LinkedIn in the search bar, not the job board. Don't hit the jobs button. Just go to the normal search bar in the upper left-hand corner, type in the name of the title of the kind of thing you're looking for, aspirationally or whatever. Hit enter. And then hit the posts button, Posts, the posts button, not the people button, the posts button. What will happen is all of these different posts will come up from regular people who are around your network who might happen to be letting people know, right, posting to their community that there are these certain jobs. So that's part of the hidden job market. Okay. So again, why does the hidden job market exist? Again, the job boards are flooded. Hiring is very expensive and time consuming. So people want to minimize their costs, and so they'll go to their colleagues. Referrals reduce risk because people are pre-vetted. That's what I was saying about Webster, right? If somebody knows Webster and trusts Webster, then it's a reduced risk for the employer because he's pre-vetted. And also companies value cultural fit as much as skills. So if Webster's colleague knows him and says, oh my gosh, Webster, you'd be a great cultural fit at this organization, they might be like, oh, got it. All right, he's going to be part of the family, right? And relationships create trust faster than resumes. I hope this all makes sense because if any of you have ever been a hiring manager, this should make sense to you. You should actually have experienced this. So the bottom line, when employers know you, they're more willing to take a chance on your unique story and career pivot. Okay, so this is the theme. I'm going to keep kind of reemphasizing this. So again, why does networking work for pivoters? Your resume cannot explain why you're pivoting. Hold on to that one for a second. Hopefully that was an aha moment that I just said. Your resume cannot explain it. Your resume can be recrafted, and we'll talk about that in a little bit of what you can do to highlight transferable skills and all the things. But quite literally, the resume is not designed to tell a story. Just not the way we format resumes. But a conversation can. It can get you to share, right, to the aha moment, your aha moment and your passion. And or your colleagues, Webster's colleague, shares the aha moment and the passion. You build trust, right? Employers hire people that they trust, establishes credibility before the interview. And then, of course, when you're in the interview, people see your enthusiasm and problem solving, not just your job titles. Okay, so hopefully I'm making my point here. There's several slides on this because I really want you to get the concept, right? And then there's the pivot, what I'm going to call the pivot principle. This is another concept to hold on to because employers are risk averse. I will say that probably another 100 times today. And they're more comfortable with people who are coming from the same role or the same industry. Because of that, you want to avoid what I'll call the double pivot. In other words, you don't want to change your role and the industry all at the same time. So I have these little concepts. And this concept is called lane versus community. Lane versus community. Your lane is what you do. It's your job function. It's your title. You're an HR person. You're an accountant. You're a project manager. You're a marketer. Your community is the industry, mission, or sector. Government, nonprofits, commercial real estate, higher education, that kind of thing, and all the little sub communities. So it's not just education, it's higher education, or it's K-12 education, right? It's not just nonprofits, it's environmental nonprofits or humanitarian nonprofits. Whatever it is, there's two different things. And the employer, in minimizing their risk, they would love it when somebody ideally comes from both. But if you're trying to make a pivot, it's better to pivot one, not both, because it's less risky for them. So if you want to stay in your, let's say, environmental nonprofit community and you want to change your lane, a little easier than changing both. Does that make sense? Okay, so avoid the double pivot, try to just do one or the other. So now we're going to talk about this concept ing versus It's my made up concept, but I think it'll be really helpful for you. So it's very much the key to rebranding. And you don't even have to be rebranding to use this, but it's really ideal for that. So here's the concept. What is an ing was an The ing is the skill, the is the profession. So for example, writing, event planning, project managing, data coaching, designing, ing. Everybody has a whole bunch of ing skills. You could list 25 of these, okay? Things that you do, which is very different than the profession. Writer, event planner, project manager, you get it. Very easy concept. Makes sense. Well, why that's important to rebranding is because if you're looking to repurpose an ing skill into an profession, you've got to convince an employer that you have enough skills to do that. And what's interesting is that when you are looking at your ing skills, and I'm going to take you through an exercise in just a bit that helps with that to figure out your skills. What you're going to want to do is think about the ing skills that you love doing so much that you could see yourself doing that, so to speak, full time. I'll give you one of my classic examples. And for those of you who've heard me speak before, you might have heard me share this. Apologies, I'm going to share it again. So years ago, I was career coaching an individual. He was an attorney. Let's just say he wanted to become a recovering attorney, right? Wanted to get out of Dodge. And we figured out in coaching what he really wanted to be was a writer. So how do you turn an attorney into a writer? Well, guess what? Attorneys do a lot of writing. So I went through his resume and we highlighted legal briefs, writing. We created a new LinkedIn profile, the about section that talked all about his writing, editing, all these things, why he loved it, all the things. And he ended up getting a job as a journalist with a legal trade publication. Now notice, he kept the legal community and changed the lane. They were perfectly happy to bring him over into this new journalist job because he knew the legal world. And today, my understanding is that he's an English teacher. So he made the full pivot and went, right, forgot the legal and was able to actually go into teaching, right? So I say this because it's a fabulous way to think through if you should be even thinking about an profession by looking and analyzing your ing skills, okay? So how do you apply this framework? So first you want to think about your think about, is there a profession that you want to go into? Then where have you already done that ing skill? What projects have you done? Even volunteer work sometimes can be helpful for this. Always thinking about, how do I want to repurpose my ings, showcase my ings into the new rebranding your resume by highlighting the ing examples. And you know what? AI can actually be very helpful with this. Super helpful. Because if you go and put into AI all of the ways that you've ever used that ing skill and tell it that you're trying to create accomplishment stories for turning that into a profession, it can easily help you do that. So be thinking about that. AI can be helpful. And then owning your stories. And when you're in networking conversations, talk about your ing skills. Let's say you want to become a project manager. Well, guess what, colleagues? I've been doing project management for many years, and now I want to pivot. Okay, so there's a framework to do, but I have to explain something. It's so important. When people think about doing okay, going to a new profession, You got to listen up with this one. Ready? The employer is only going to find credibility in you if the kinds of skills that you are transferring are hard skills, not soft skills. Hard skills, functional skills like writing, project management, and editing, not I'm collaborative, I'm creative, I'm strategic, I'm a team player. They're not hiring you for the transferable soft skills. Now, they need those skills, but that's not what's going to convince them that you're going to be able to slide into home base and hit the job flying. Okay. The risk aversion for an employer is they want to minimize your learning curve. They want to minimize your learning curve. So the more you can demonstrate that you have the hard skills for this new profession, the more likely it is they're going to believe you and believe that you can be a credible, productive resource pretty quickly. Okay. So here's some real world examples. These are sort of all over the place. I mentioned the attorney to writer thing because that's one of the stories I mentioned. I want to go to this one below, right below it. It says policy manager to operations. Now that's going to seem absolutely ridiculous to you. What do you mean? How does a policy manager go into operations? Well, I have a real story. That's why that's in here. I'm going to tell you the story. A woman named Carla. Okay. So Carla came to me as a coaching client, and you're going to see a snippet of her resume in the next slide, but I want to tell you the backstory. So she comes to me and she was in policy and an association, government relations. And she's like, I'm just done with this whole government relations thing, la, 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 la. She goes, I'm an operations person at heart. I said, all right, let's see what we can do about this. So what we did was we looked back at her job. Obviously, we can't change her title, but we could do, and what we did do is we found accomplishment stories that were ops related, okay? Legit stories of times in her job where she did things that were budget, staff, technology, these kinds of things, totally legit, nothing to do with policy, but had everything to do with administrative and operations. And we recrafted her resume. So what I'm about to show you in this next slide is just the snippet of her organization and title and several accomplishment stories that were related. And then I'll tell you what we did with it. Okay. So here is the snippet. And you see here, we found accomplishment stories, technology modernization, staff development, budget management, process improvement, where she actually leaned in to operational skills. And then what we did was, which I'm not showing here, the top of the resume, the, so to speak, headline of the resume, you know what I did? I retitled her. I called her, ready? An operations-minded association leader. I couldn't call her a COO because she's not a COO, but I created an adjective, operations-minded. And then she went into her community, which is the association community, and did a bunch of networking. And she got a job, and she's actually there to this day. It's like 6 years later. And she now oversees this, like, it's a little division. It's like almost not a foundation, but that kind of thing, a little subgroup under the larger organization where she's leading. She's doing operations. She's doing that, right, management, nothing to do with policy, but she's using her operations skills in that role. So this is possible, but it has to be done with intention, not just on a whim. You can't just have a resume that has all of your old accomplishments and assume that everybody's going to be a mind reader and understand how you fit. You've got to actually pull out those stories, those hard skills, find accomplishment stories. And you know what? Even if you only have volunteer work, there's a way you can do this where at the top of your resume, underneath your title and all the things, where you can say related volunteer experience, and then just have that as a section and call forth the stories. That can also be helpful. But my point is, you've got to be intentional. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to take you through this exercise. This is my signature exercise. I call it passiontivity. And it's going to help you identify your ings and your ers. Now, I do this with every coaching client, regardless of whether they're career pivoting. If you ever work with me or have worked with me, this is the very first thing that I do. In fact, I actually do it in my recruiting world too. When I open up a conversation with a candidate, I take people through this, because what it'll do is it's going to look at your skills and motivators. It's going to help you identify the ing skills that you love and don't love and see where you can pivot. Okay. So what I'd like y'all to do is grab a sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. And I'd like you to take 10 seconds and just draw this out, these 4 boxes. Okay. And you're actually going to do, we're going to, and once I explain the exercise to you, I'm actually going to give you a few minutes to do it privately, okay, quietly. So high motivation, low motivation, high skill, low skill. So here's the boxes. So the high engagement box, high skill, high motivation. These are functional skills, hard skills, the writing, the project management, the customer service, the financial analysis, those kinds of skills that you are a rock star at and you love to do. You give discretionary effort, wild horses can't drag you away, big smiley face emoji. Webster, you're a happy guy when you're doing this work, okay? Stopgap work, high skill, low motivation. You are perfectly competent in these skills, but truth be told, you tolerate the work. Stopgap means tolerate. You'll do it, other duties as assigned. You do not want to lean into this work. Probably none of the things in the stopgap box are going to be ERS for you because you don't want to do it hardly at all, but you certainly wouldn't want to do it as a full-time job. And then there's professional development. Now, there's going to be 2 boxes. If you can go ahead and split this upper left box into 2 quadrants, little line in the middle. And I'm going to share with you these 2 boxes. In both cases, you're highly motivated to learn these skills, but for 2 different reasons. Either because you want to learn it, you love to learn it, it's a get to, or because you have to learn it. Want to versus have to. So want to would be a love, have to would be a, I should. I don't wanna, but I probably got to. All right. But it's not a want, it's a have to. And then low is disengagement. You're not good at these things, have no desire to be good at these things. It's skills that drain you completely. So here's what I'm going to have you do. We're going to literally take 3 minutes. And even when I do this with my coaching clients, it normally doesn't even take more than like 5 or so, but for the sake of time today, I'm just going to give you 3. And when I do this, here's what you're going to do. You're going to fill this out, but with a particular focus, just for the sake of time, with a particular focus on the high engagement box. Remember, high skill, high motivation. But just to remind you, we're not looking for soft skills. We want hard skills. It's very important that you think about this. What I do want you to write is, again, writing, customer service, board relations, strategic planning, project management, financial analysis, curriculum design, I don't know, functional tasks. What you do not want to write in this box are the soft skills. You don't want to say problem solver, team player, strategic, critical thinker, none of that stuff. Those are important skills. But in order for you to think about transferring your skill, your hard skills into an you really need to put the hard skills down, not the soft skills, because there is no job that's called problem solver. There's no job title called critical thinker. Those are just soft skills. But there is a job title, project manager, writer, customer service representative. Does that make sense? Financial analyst. Think about the ing skills here, that one of them might end up being something you want to go into an And just so you know, I know there's a whole lot of people on this call today. You came to this call and, Shira's talking about rebranding. You may not all want to rebrand. You may not all want to be career pivoting. That's okay. I use this exercise for everybody. So even if you still want to stay in your lane, it's still a fabulous exercise because this is going to help you with your branding overall, regardless of whether you're staying in the lane or you're pivoting. If you understand what all these boxes are, particularly high engagement, you can start to look at, well, what are the problems I like to solve using these skills? How do I want to, add value to an organization? So just so you understand, everybody should be doing this. So we're going to take 3 minutes. You're going to fill this out, particularly with the high engagement. If you don't get through all of them, that's okay. And do know that it's very likely for the left side of your page to be less filled out than the right side of your page because people tend to work to their strengths. You might only have a couple things on the left-hand side. Mostly people fill out the right side. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes starting now. We're going to go quiet. Okay. So just work quietly and then we'll go on to the next slide. Okay. Here you go. 3 minutes. One more minute. All right. So I know we only have 15 minutes left for my whole presentation, but I want to do one little call out. Okay. We're just going to go bold here. Jody, I'm not, or whoever is monitoring chat. I'd like for one person, I know 10 of you raised your hand. I'm going to ask for one person who is a career pivoter, meaning you actually want to change your lane, not the community, but you want to actually change your lane because this is a lane exercise. If I could have one person put in the chat, if you're willing to be my little guinea pig and actually, Jody, are people allowed to unmute themselves? You would have to do it for them?
Well, yeah, I mean, we could, Dan, can Justin unmute for right now for this exercise?
Yeah, he should be able to.
Okay.
Terrific. Okay. So we have one person actually who raised their hand. I think it's Gary. So Gary, what we'll do is, and you can think if you want to keep your hand up, what you're going to do is you're going to read to me your 4 boxes. I'm going to focus in on the high engagement and I'm going to coach you just for like a minute. I know we don't have a long time here, but I just want to show you how this works. So if Gary, if you still want to do that, could you raise your hand again? And then they'll unmute you. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So if Justin, if you could unmute Gary. Gary, are you there?
He is there, and we're trying to get him. I think Justin's trying to get him unmuted right now.
I tried to unmute. I asked him to unmute.
I think I did.
There you go.
We hear you.
Great.
We hear you great.
We're good. Excellent. All right. All right, Gary. So if you could do me a favor, if you could just quickly share, no explanation, just read the list. If you could just, I'm gonna have you label the boxes. And by the way, everybody should label the boxes because it's just easier to remember. The upper right is A. The bottom right is B. Upper left is C. Bottom left is D. So you can, in the future, you can say, oh, these are my A box skills and my B box skills. It's just easier to say. So if you could just say A, read the list, B, read the list. Okay.
My A would be take AI and take cloud computing.
Yep.
My B would be professional development or stopgap work.
Stopgap work.
Stopgap work would be, I've been out of a job for a while, so I'm trying to figure out what will be a stopgap.
The work that you're good at, that you tolerate.
I'm good at communication and finding the people's why. Why are they doing this? Where they're going with that? How best I can help them to get that done.
Right. Is that work that you tolerate or is that work that you love to do?
Work that I love to do.
Okay, so that would be in your high engagement. Although I would suggest that that's a little bit more on the soft skill side. That's more of a how you do what you do. What we're looking for here, and I'm actually, Gary, I'm glad that you're saying this out loud because I think a lot of people probably have thought about these boxes in similar ways. This is a good sort of pivot here. So what we're looking for here are hard skills. So you mentioned AI and cloud computing. Great. Now, of course, there's a lot of technical skills underneath that, like networking and coding and whatever. Okay. But what we're looking for are those hard skills. The soft skills, how you do it, your thinking, your lens, all of that's important, but not as much for this exercise, because this exercise is really trying to help us understand what you do and how to take the what and pivot it into a new into a new lane. So you mentioned cloud computing. Now you mentioned one thing. Are there any other hard skills in your A box that you would want to break down? Things that you do really well that you also love to do?
Strategic planning.
Okay. Anything else?
What I love to do is customer service, good customer
Okay.
service,
Okay.
which is
So,
that's a soft skill as well, right?
no, that's actually a hard skill. I mean, it
Okay.
can be seen as a soft skill, but it's a hard skill. So in your profession, have you been in AI and cloud computing, or were you in a different career field?
I was in a different career field.
Aha. Okay. So so you're a good example. In fact, for the sake of time, I'm just going to stay on this box because I still have more slides to go through. So without knowing actually, I'm going to ask you one question. Just in 2 seconds, what was your past profession?
I was a sales manager, a GM for a furniture store.
Oh, interesting. So this would be a whole different, real big pivot for you. Okay. So, and got it. And so you were in the retail world, particularly in the furniture world, right? But you have
Yes.
apparently developed AI, and cloud skills along the way, right?
Yes. I've been to Amazon, got all the training, got all
Right.
that.
Okay. So that's a very interesting pivot. And here's what I'm going to suggest, very high level. Again, we don't have a long time today. I'm just going to pop this little, pebble in the pond. Think about this. Your community, your sector has been retail, the furniture world, right? The consumer goods, that kind of
Yes.
community.
Inventory,
Meaning,
performance management, coaching.
no, I apologize. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. No, what I mean is your sector, the industry that you've come from is in retail, consumer
Retail, yes.
goods, right? Home furnishings. Okay. So think of this, Gary. That sector is going to consider you more, if you will, family. They're going to feel
Yes.
closer and more attracted to you because you understand their business needs. You understand the customer base. You get how they think.
Yes.
Okay. That means that if you're trying to pivot from the sales lane into that community, it's a sale, excuse me, if you're trying to pivot from the sales lane into the AI lane,
cloud computing
the
technology.
people who are going to be probably more likely, be more receptive to you are the people in that sector. So if you started networking, went back to your colleagues in that home furnishing retail
Yes.
world and said, hey guys, I know you knew me as a sales manager, but in the meantime, I've developed all these AI skills. I'd love to try to repurpose and support the sector with that lane. But I would recommend go back to that community because those are the people who are going to trust you. And I would
Yes.
recommend that for everybody here. If you have deep expertise, deep relationships in a particular sector, and you want to flip your lane, those are the people who are going to trust you the most and be more receptive and feel like you're minimizing their risk because you already know the sector, you know how things go, you know the jargon, you know the business mindset.
Yes.
And they'll say, okay, great. Maybe we'll trust you to help us with this. Does that make sense? That's a way to do this. It mitigates the risk along the way. So thank you, Gary, for being my guinea pig.
Okay.
Claps for Gary. Okay. So that was we only had time for the one. Okay. I'm going to try to, in the next 10 minutes, try to, less than that, try to wrap up all the other slides. All right. So here we go. So intentional networking. Remember, intentional, not just networking. So here's the thing. What is it? Here's what's not. It's not just asking strangers for jobs, mass messaging people on LinkedIn, collecting business cards you'll never use. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask strangers for jobs. I'm not saying that maybe a mass message on LinkedIn won't work. And I'm not saying don't collect business cards. I'm not saying don't do it ever. But that's not intentional networking. Intentional networking is building genuine relationships based on mutual value. It's about learning about industries and companies through conversations. It's about networking with people in your lane who can refer you roles that are not right for them, but could be right for you. It's about creating a network that supports your career long-term and not just right now. A lot of you are in job transition, maybe in long-term transition. That would be very understandable in this kind of call. And you're like, I just need a job. The reality is people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So when you are networking with people, you want to make it a mutual benefit. And you want to see how can you solve their problems or the problems of their colleagues. Be authentic, be a go-giver, help people, understand what their needs are, see how you can provide value. It's not just about spraying, oh, everybody, I'm looking for a job. It's intentionally looking at people in your lane or your community, or the aspirational lane or the aspirational community, and seeing how you can provide value. So be helpful first. When you give value, opportunities follow. Be genuine, be relational in what you're doing. So informational interviews, that's a concept that we've all known for, right, as long as we've been working. This is not a new concept. But what it is, just to refine it a little bit, we don't often talk about this, is that it's a short conversation where you're asking people about their career journey, about their company, about the industry. You're learning from them. You're not actually asking for a job necessarily. It's not just, you're not just putting out your hand. You're trying to gather information. And I will share with you that I've seen people do this successfully. A while back, several years ago, I was helping a couple of folks who both wanted to shift from corporate-ish work to the environmental nonprofit sector. At that time, it was very popular to do that. And it was hard, right? But what did they do? They network. There was one woman I was working with, Jen, and she got involved with this in the DMV, this local women and energy and environment group. I mean, she just plugged in and built relationships. That's what you have to do sometimes, is to let people know you're part of their fish pond. You're going to hear me mix metaphors. Okay. It's one of my concepts is fish ponds. All right. So who's the fish pond that you're trying to go swim in? Well, go meet the fish. What's the temperature of the water, right? They want to understand that you're part of them. It's going to help them feel much friendlier towards you and less risky. It's a low pressure conversation. You're going to get insider knowledge. They're going to get to know you yourself, your story, your skills, your enthusiasm, your why. Gary mentioned why. What's your why? And often it does lead to introductions to other people in the network. And then again, when a job opens up, you're top of mind. They'll think of you first. So you really want to schedule at least 2 to 3 networking meetings a day if you can, which means you have to send out a lot of connection invitations or rekindling of relationships to do this. And I'm going to share with you how to do it, especially through LinkedIn. Okay. So this is another metaphor. We're going to shift from fishing over to what I call the family tree of networking. This is going to be super, super helpful if you're trying to land informational interviews, and not just informational interviews, any kind of networking. This is a way to be very, very intentional. Okay, so here's the concept. Well, first of all, there's two kinds of people in your family network. People with whom you have a trusted relationship, and people who understand you professionally. It's 2 different columns. I'm going to show you how this works. So people with whom you have a relationship. I call them twins, siblings, first cousins, and second cousins. Who's a twin? Relationally, a twin is someone who knows you by name. This is what I call the person who dances at your wedding and helps you move. You know that person. Could be best friends, family, whatever. Sibling is someone who knows you by first name, who's a close colleague. I would consider Jody and I siblings. I could say, hey, Jody, it's Shira. Hey, Shira, what do you need? Like that kind of person, right? Relational. First cousin is a past relationship, a dormant relationship. By the way, guys, if you have not talked to somebody in 15 years, no problemo. Why? If you left on good terms, they will be delighted to hear from you. Delighted. Had a person reach out yesterday to me, Leslie, haven't talked to her in years. She's like, hey, sure, want to catch up? I'm like, sure, here's my calendar. Let's do it. Those are blasts from the past conversations they'd be delighted to hear. And then a second cousin is a past relationship, friendly but not close. You'll have to actually remind them who you are. But that's it. I don't go to third cousins. This is all, to me, all the different kinds of relationship concepts. Now, notice I'm putting a circle over here, twins and siblings. These are the people who want to help you. They're your champions. When you reach out, they'll be like, oh, Leslie, Susan, hey, love to help you. Love to get, what's going on? How can I? They'll be usually proactive on your behalf. Now, the people in your aspirational profession, and not just aspirational, anybody in your lane, in your profession, a twin is somebody who does what you do. Let me pause here. This is your best referral source. Do you know why? Because these are the people who hear about opportunities that are not right for them, but could be right for you. I, as a recruiter, count on that. Call it the birds of a feather. Okay. Where if I, as a recruiter, I'm looking for a person, I will go fish for the people who do that work. And I will assume that they have a network of people who do that work and will refer somebody. And let me give you a case in point this hot little second. I mean, like literally right now. I'm doing a vice president of finance search for a trade association. And I went out there and I LinkedIn search, vice president of finance associations, got a whole bunch of people, hidden network. I did not use the job board. I went out, I did my little recruiting. Hey, everybody, I'm looking for this kind of person. Who do you know? A guy named Jeff writes me back. He goes, hey, job's not right for me. Like you to consider my friend Chris. Chris reaches out. And because I was not overwhelmed with hundreds of resumes from a job board, I was able to give a little extra consideration to his resume. And mind you, he wasn't perfect. Like it wasn't like he checked all the boxes twice, but he got referred. I said, let me give him a try. He was in the right lane, different community. Chris became my #1 candidate. Guys, literally as we speak, it's 11:44. He's finishing up his final level interviews at that organization right now because the CEO said, I agree with you, best candidate of all the ones that I met. Best candidate. Okay. He heard about this job through his colleague, Jeff, who did the same thing that he did. They're both CFOs. Okay. I'm telling you, this works. When you have a relationship with somebody who does what you do, they are oftentimes the best referral. Sibling says something similar to what you do. So I'm going to make this up. Let's just say it's the finance person is what you're in finance. Maybe an operations person might be a sibling. Somebody who's within earshot of the kind of work that you want to do and might be able to refer you. And again, first cousin understands what you do and second cousin is familiar. You get the idea. So the people, I'll go back here. The twins and siblings are going to be best capable of helping you. But you know what the best intersection? This, the relational and the professional. Your twin siblings on the relational side who are also best capable. That's your ideal. Or versions of that. Does this make sense? Okay. So using LinkedIn to find connections. And by the way, I know we're at 11:45 and I'm going to fly through these. So Jody, I do know it's time. You can stay with me just a couple minutes. Using LinkedIn to find connections. What you're going to do is you're going to use, and I'm going to show you the next slide of how to do it. You're going to look at your relational twins and siblings in your aspirational community. That's your tier 1, because relationship, right? These are the people who want to help you. So they're twins and siblings, but they also are in your lane or community. Your next tier is going to be relational twins and siblings in an adjacent community. And then, this should have said tier 3. I apologize for the typo. The third column should say new professional, it's tier 3, new professional connections in your aspirational lane. Okay. So you want to start with the people who know you, love you, trust you, then the people who know you, love you, trust you, who are in an adjacent community, and then brand new people who don't know you, but are in your aspirational lane or community. So quickly, how to search for first level contacts on LinkedIn. You go to the search bar, which is the upper left-hand corner. I put in communications director just as a title. Hit the people button, and then click on the first level button. That's going to pull up your first levels who are communications directors. You see there's a second level button. You could hit that as a next tier. You could put all kinds of things in that search bar. You can put in PMP. You could put in higher education. You can put in all kinds of things. What will happen is the people who are going to show up on the list are going to be people whose headline, right underneath their picture, the headline has more or less of those skills, which is why you in your headline, you want to put your aspirational lane, your aspirational community in there so you can be found. I have a whole training on LinkedIn that I do here for JCA during the Career Gateway, which I'm sure Jody's going to be talking about. So it's a 2-hour training and we go there, but that's just a little highlight. Anyway, when I did that search, this is what came up. My first levels, communications director, communications, right? That's literally what happens. Real quickly, reconnecting with first level connections. You want to reach out to them on LinkedIn and email. Why? Because they may not see a LinkedIn message. The email might go into spam. So do both to reach out for a Zoom call. Here's a sample message. In fact, this is very much what person yesterday wrote to me. She's like, hi, Shira, hope you're well. Like to find out what you've been up to, catch up on what's been going on in my world too. Wondering if you're available for coffee, in person or virtual, would sometime in February work. That kind of thing. Very simple, relational. And you want to catch up with them. And hopefully in that call, right, they can refer you. If you're connecting with a second level, I'm going to share with you 2 ways. And I apologize, I'm speaking so fast for the sake of time. Here's a sample LinkedIn connection invitation, okay, versus a LinkedIn message to a first level. So LinkedIn connection invitation is obviously to somebody you don't know, a second level. You can do it to a third level for sure, but second level is a little easier because you can name drop. You can say, hi, John, second level connection. We're connected through Mary Smith, my first level connection. I'm reaching out because we share some career interests in this profession or industry, hoping you might be able to want to explore synergies. If you're interested in a Zoom call, I'll toss out some dates. And that has to be 300 characters or less. And by the way, LinkedIn has changed its business model. If you have the free version, you can only do 5 personalized invitations a month for 200 characters. If you have premium, and I would go to the second level of premium, the business level, you'll get unlimited connection invitations for 300 characters a month. And if you can't afford to do the premium, you can just do regular invites without any message. A LinkedIn message to a first level, meaning you're already first level, you can just message back and forth. Again, hope you're well. Notice you're connected to John Smith at ABC Company. Grateful if you broker an introduction between us, as I'm interested in career pivoting into the, X industry Y profession, right? Okay, quick, sorry, flying through this, crafting your pivot story. So your pivot, your career narrative, you're going to have this career story that's going to be more like a movie trailer. It's got a hook. It's got character development, makes them want to learn more. You explain who you are professionally. Here's what I've been doing for the last while. Here's the ing here, but I've been designing curriculums and training teams. I want to become a curriculum designer. Why are you pivoting? I've discovered my passion for learning design extended beyond the classroom. And what do you want to do in your I'm excited to transfer those skills into a corporate L&D or an instructional designer. So there's an arc, a story arc. Common pivot storytelling mistakes. Don't apologize for your background. And also don't go on forever, all the things that you've ever done, or use too much jargon from your own field, or only talk about your soft skills, right? Don't be vague about why you're pivoting. Don't downplay your accomplishments, but do own your unique path as an asset. Translate your experience into this new industry, why it's going to be helpful for people. Be quantifiable, show clear, authentic motivation, highlight your wins with confidence. Go after the windshield, not the rearview mirror, but where you're going more than where you've been. Your action plan, here's a few things you can do for your first steps. And by the way, I will share this presentation with Jody. She can send it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I'm going so fast. You're going to complete your ing inventory. Okay. So let's list all these different ing skills you've done in your past roles, target your audit your network, maybe 20 people who might be able to connect you to your target field. Optimize your LinkedIn, your headline, your summary, your experience, all the things you want to do in your career pivot focus. Reach out to folks for informational interviews, and then craft your pivot story. Some resources for networking. LinkedIn, join industry specific groups. There are groups. If you put in your aspirational lane or community, hit the groups button, you're gonna find a whole bunch of groups probably with people that you can network with. Meetup oftentimes has a lot of groups that are in your lane or community. Industry associations, there's an association for absolutely everything. National Association of Widget Makers. There's every association all over the place with a lot of chapters where you can network in person, and sometimes alumni networks, right, from your skills. A lot of skills assessments you can do other than Passiontivity, Clifton strengths, job descriptions. Look at target roles that you're going after. Look at the job descriptions, see what's related, see what's transferable. Obviously, career coaching and informational interviewing. For learning, LinkedIn Learning, there's some free courses, Coursera, industry webinars, and volunteer experience can absolutely help you build your credibility. Okay, so key takeaways: your resume won't get you in the door, relationships will. Brand yourself with the ing skills. Networking is about genuine connection, not asking for jobs. Pivot story should connect your past to your future, and then start today. Take little small actions that are going to compound. All right. Remember, you're not starting over. You're building on everything you've already accomplished, and your unique story is your competitive advantage. I know we don't have time for questions because I've blown through my time.
You have a few minutes to jump into chat.
I do, but I am going to put my information here if you'd like to. So here's the situation with me. All right. Please grab my information. Jody, I'm not sure if you or Ann had put into the chat my
Yes.
Hire Moment Mastermind. So
Yep.
I'm going to slow down when I say this. Every other Friday, including this Friday, I have a group that I've been running since the beginning of COVID. It's called Hire Moment Mastermind. It's free. It's a community service. It's for job seekers of all professions. We meet from 9:15 to 10:15 Eastern. It's an open Q&A with myself and a couple of other colleagues, another coach, another recruiter. We have networking time. We answer questions, all of these things. You're welcome to join. Anybody's welcome to join. We have plenty of room. If you would like to explore career coaching with me, feel free to just reach out, via email. I do I help pivoters of all kinds, and not just pivoters, like anybody who's looking to do branding and networking and all of these things. And feel free to send me a LinkedIn invitation if you'd like to stay in touch. Phew. All right. So hope you
Terrific.
buckled in for all that.
And Shira presents at every Career Gateway program. So if you want to hear more of Shira, you participate in the Career Gateway, you'll be hearing more. She does LinkedIn training during our 5-day program. So
Right.
you can get more of Shira.
One more last thing I forgot to mention. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing.